So there's a group of college football fans that have long felt like the NCAA's days were numbered, and myself included. For as long as I've had this channel, for as long as this topic has come up, I've maintained that I felt like the NCAA was on its last leg. But even though I've maintained that, it doesn't diminish how big and shocking the news that came out yesterday was. That on Monday, the Board of Managers for the College Football Playoffs, which is made up of 11 presidents of chancellors, met to discuss a future for major college football outside the scope of the NCAA. Today, we have got to break down the massive implications of this, why I'm simultaneously surprised and not surprised, and everything in between. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill, I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe the NCAA's days are numbered? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, like and comment down below, as those interactions, though small, are truly massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this because there is quite a bit for us to unpack. And this comes in the wake of so much major news in relation to conference realignment. And at the point where all the major moves were happening in conference realignment, I think more and more people started to realize that this was going to be an inevitability. It wasn't if it was going to happen, it was a matter of when it was going to happen. But as I said in the intro, I need to break down to you why I'm simultaneously surprised this is happening and not surprised this is happening. We'll start with the first, why I'm surprised this is happening. And this kind of reminds me, if you went to the pool, in one of those pools where they have those high dives, if you were hyping up your buddy, he said he's going to jump off the high dive into the pool, and you keep telling him, yeah, do it, do it, do it. The moment he does it, there is still going to be that air of, oh man, he really did that. That's why I'm surprised, because this is a major move and there is no downplaying that, right? And there are questions that have to be asked in relation to this, and we're going to get to that. But anything that's this large, when we're talking about $1 billion industry making a move of this scale, even though I think it was an inevitability, it is still surprising because of the scope of what we're talking about. Now, the reason it's unsurprising goes without saying. When we look at conference realignment, it seemed like some of these conferences were laying the foundation to operate outside the scope of the NCAA even before this had happened. And even outside of that, when we look at the contract structures right now with these major media corporations, a lot has been happening in college football, and a lot of people, including myself, have long maintained that it felt like the end of the NCAA was coming. It's just now we actually have something put in writing. Now, it is important to note that even in the ESPN article that came out about this topic, that the board of managers have said this is the early stages of this. Not much is put in concrete, and they liken this to a marathon as opposed to a sprint. And I have to agree, anytime you're talking about a move of this scale, of this scope, it is going to be something that needs to be thoroughly thought out. It cannot be a spur-of-the-moment decision because you're talking about way too many moving parts. So this is something that really grabbed the attention of college football fans and really football fans everywhere, because this is going to have massive implications for the college football game. And one of the things that I was instantly drawn to was a specific word that was used. Because when the College Football Playoff Board of Managers met about this, they stated they wanted major college football to operate outside the scope of the NCAA, which to me begs the question, what are we considering major college football? Is that going to be Power 5? Is that only going to be the super conferences that are forming? What are we going to qualify as major college football? And that is an important question, one that will absolutely have to be sorted. But this is an area also where I do need to hear from you, because what do you believe their definition of major college football is? Do you believe that's the super conferences so many people have been alluding to, or do you believe it could be something as simplistic as a Power 5 structure like we have right now, just moving outside the scope of the NCAA? That to me is a major question, something that I could not really move past whenever I read the article. I kept coming back to that word major. What does it mean? What is the scope of major, and who's the purveyor of who decides what that is? But I digress off of that because that's a topic that'll have us going in circles because of the lack of information. Embedded in all of this is something that so far I haven't seen many people talking about, but is incredibly important because this will absolutely come before the NCAA is out of the equation. And that's an expansion of the college football playoffs, because the committee also talked about expanding the college football playoffs before the 2025 deadline. That is something that I think is flying under the radar, because this is something that tried to happen a while ago and it ended up not. And a lot of those reasons are slowly getting worked through, though there are still questions in that regard as well. But at the end of the day, that was something that was also included into this article that I don't believe is getting the focus, and let's be honest, for good reason. Anytime you have an article that's mainly focused about the College Football Board of Managers, the 11 presidents and chancellors talking about operating outside the scope of the NCAA, that's going to be major, but it is incredibly doable. The reason why it's so doable is because the postseason already operates somewhat outside the scope of the NCAA. The college football playoff runs the postseason, so they already have experience running a small sect of college football. But how does that look like when the scale is exponentially larger? That's something we have to see. But what we do know is that the college football playoff does have some experience running the games, and they do have contractual agreements with major bowl games. So at the end of the day, this is something that could happen, but I do very much well agree. This is going to be a marathon, and this is going to be a grueling marathon because this has massive implications. And we're not just talking about implications for the university. And we're not just talking about implications for these 11 presidents and chancellors. We're talking about implications for every university that makes the move. We're talking implications for every university that doesn't make the move. So, this is a massive topic, one that we will undoubtedly be coming back to multiple times as more information comes out. And even though there's not much information out, this is far too big of a topic for us not to cover here on the channel, as we've constantly covered college football expansion, playoffs, what have you. We've talked about it. This has got to go in that long line. But as always, I can't wait to hear from y'all. Hop down. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.